I really felt the need to comment and share some thoughts on the current situation regarding the school closures. I'm not going to get into whether I think it's a good thing or a bad thing, but the fact of the matter is that no matter whether it was right or wrong for it to be done, a huge burden is being placed on the mental health of women and mothers at this time. And I just wanted to share some thoughts to help, especially the mothers out there, to cope with this situation because when we're already burnt out and stressed, things like this can really push us over the edge into breakdown territory. And there are certain things that we can think and that we can understand that will help us deal with that in a better way. Everything I'm going to share comes mainly from the yoga tradition and the way of understanding the philosophy of our mind and of our emotions so that we can live a happier life. The first thing I want to say is that one of the things that makes us stuck in life is when we're right. When things happen that are unfair and we're right about it, it can be very hard to let go and accept the reality of the environment that we're facing because we feel like it's not fair. And in my opinion, many mothers out there would be very justified to feel like that right now because the burden has been placed firmly sort of on their shoulders, right? And after the Christmas holidays, when you finally feel like you can have some time for yourself and time to focus on your own mental health, it's quite a slap in the face to have at the last minute all of your plans go out of the window. And that sense of injustice can be a fire which really burns us from the inside and really contributes to a lack of mental health. One of the hardest philosophies in yoga to understand is this idea that we need to surrender and accept reality as it is. And it's hard to accept because obviously very often reality is unjust and we feel like we need to fight for justice. And sometimes we do. But sometimes fighting for injustice is not going to change the situation and it's not going to help our mental health either. Sometimes the fight does help us. We feel empowered to work towards a goal, but very often things are beyond our control and resisting the reality places such a heavy burden on us. So in the yoga tradition, this idea, this concept philosophically of just accepting our reality is very powerful, and it's not something easy to do, right? Because most of the time we want to control and change our environment. We have this plan of how our day, how our month, how our year should be. But as we age, we realize more and more that reality often doesn't conform to our expectation of it, and we spend a lot of time actually fighting reality. This can be from, like, sometimes I find myself fighting reality on the basic, like really small things about like when I eat or when I sleep. And even though like it just sounds so ridiculous, it's just a programming that we have to want to control our environment. And the bigger and the greater the interruption of our plan, the bigger the burden on our mental health. So something that is really good to keep in mind is that when we can't fight to change the reality is to work to accept it and be okay with it. And yes, it's hard for women to keep aside their careers, their creativity, the things that actually they have a right to experience. But so there's no way to change that situation, even though it's not right. We do need to find a way to accept our plans being changed and surrender to the moment. And if we stop resisting the moment, it will be a lot easier to cope with on a mental level. The more we resist reality, the more unhappy we are. So this is just, I know might not sound like the easiest thing to swallow right now, but try to just accept the reality of having the kids at home and having to do the online schooling, and try to find your peace with that, because you're going to have to do it anyways. You're either going to do it resisting it or you're going to do it kind of making your peace with it, and only one of those is going to have a good benefit for yourself and for your children. The second thing I wanted to mention is that one of the reasons why things like this are so stressful is because the idea that we're not coping with the things that we have to do and the things that we want to do is extremely stressful. This feeling like you can't keep up. And again, this school closure thing was quite bad timing because I'm sure many women out there are feeling like I can finally get sort of some time for myself, and to catch up with all of the things that I want to do as an individual being, not necessarily always as a mother, but as a woman and as a person, the things that I want to do with my life outside of the family. And of course, like, having the plans change and probably having to cancel and not be able to give a lot of time to the things that you wanted to do is extremely stressful, and it's very, very destructive for our mental health to have this kind of situation. The thing is, though, and this is tied to the first point of accepting our reality, the second point is that we often create our own burdens. Like, we have some expectation of ourselves in our mind of like, I should do this, that, and the other. I was feeling this just yesterday. I was feeling like, oh my Kobe, I have all of these things to do. And sort of the thought of like all of the things I had to do was so much scarier than the actual list of the things that I had to do, and the things that I really needed to do. Like, a lot of them were things that I wanted to do, or I wanted to do earlier than they necessarily had to be done, or pressures that I was putting on myself that really didn't need to be there. So of course some of them need to be there, like, and I don't want to sort of dismiss like anyone's burdens and responsibilities, because I know that many women out there have so much. There are women out there who can't just take leave at the last minute, and it's really heartbreaking to see how much pressure and stress that puts on us, and on the mental health of everyone out there, but particularly mothers, because the reality is that the burden falls squarely, very often on their shoulders. But in a time like this of crisis, it is really good to just kind of go through our to-do list and kick off all of the things that are not necessary, and all of the pressures that we're putting on ourselves, especially for women who have their own business. This is a thing that we often do, is because we have this creative impulse, and we have these goals that we want to get to. We over pressurize ourselves, and very often, these goals can be delayed, and that would be okay. Again, if it's not, that's a different situation. But here I'm just talking about the ones that we can delay, the ones that we are putting on ourselves unnecessarily, because those are the ones that need to make way so that we can deal with the ones that we can't compromise on. So that's just another thing you can do to try and sort of ease that mental burden on yourselves. I know that many of the mental burdens are going to be our own New Year's resolutions to be healthy, and all of the things that we said we're going to start 2021 doing, whether it's going to be like a specific diet, or getting more healthy, or doing more yoga, or going to the gym, whatever it may be. The burden of not being able to do that can be quite hard to take. But the truth is that the most important ingredient to health is emotional peace. So sort of like the gym will wait, and maybe the yoga classes will even wait. The most important thing that you can do right now is to make peace with your situation, because that's what's going to create the most health. You can go to the gym every day and be thinking very negatively and be resisting your reality, and you still will not be any closer to health. So don't worry if you can't stick to those New Year's resolutions. Like, go easy on yourself. And that leads me to my last point, which is, you can be surprised how much benefit your body and your mind can get from just taking a few seconds of your time to just like go into your body and feel yourself and breathe. We're so addicted to being stimulated, and when stress comes in, and a situation like this creates a lot of stress, now there's suddenly more things we have to cope with, there's more burdens on us, so our fight or flight system can often kick in. And what that does is that when we do have a free moment, what we do is we grab the mobile, or we go to the TV, or we go to our WhatsApp, or whatever, and we fill that time with more stimulation, and that has a lot of very long-term benefits on our health. So it's really important that if you do find yourself with a few free minutes, just try to sit with yourself and like breathe into the body. And I know that can be hard, because the reason why we are addicted to our phones is because stress hormones don't feel good in the body. So we want to distract ourselves from that discomfort by going to our devices. But we're just making it worse in the long term. So just try to, notice when you have that free moment, just take a moment. Even something very simple like breathing in, count to 2, breathing out, count to 4. And just like really feeling the breath as it comes in and out of your body. That can be real medicine for your nervous system, and it's something that you can do even if you have just 5 seconds to take a couple of breaths in between the Zoom classes or whatever. It's something that can really help. So my compassion to all the mothers out there who are dealing with the situation. I hope it will be resolved. But the message, the important message we need to always keep in our mind is that our mental health is really important, and the more the burdens are placed on us, the more we need to be creative and brave to find the solutions to these challenges. And very often the solutions are slightly counterintuitive, like, you know, surrendering to reality, a reality which is not how you wish it to be. It can be counterintuitive, and it can be very easy for us to resist you know, ideas like this. But everything I've shared in this video is things that I've experimented on with myself and have brought me a sense of deeper inner peace and ability to cope with my environment. So whatever that may be, crisis and burdens place very similar dynamics onto us. So these things, I'm sure, through my own experience, will be really helpful. So I hope that helps, and if you do find this useful, please share with another mom who might need a little dose of something to help her keep sane over the next few days. Thank you for listening.